2 genes for every trait, okay, minimum. So you get 1 gene from your mother, 1 gene from your father. Usually there are many more genes than just 2, okay? But the simplest form of transferring genes is in pairs. Okay, so you get 1 from your mother, 1 from your father. So let's say we're going to use the big T for the plants, just like what Mendel studied the pea plants. Big or little t, and then we have big T, little t. Okay. Since this is dominance, it means 1 gene is dominant over the other. 1 gene is going to take control. It's 1 gene you'll see in the traits. It'll show up. So for plants, this is tall and tall. And a plant that has this genotype, so this type of genes, which is called the genotype, is called homozygous, because homo means same. So homozygous, zygote, fertilized egg, dominant. And we know it's dominant because we're using uppercase letters to indicate the genes. So we're going to say this gene came from the mother, this gene came from the father. If you got 2 big ones like this, it's that's the individual's homozygous dominant. This one, let's say this one came from the mother, this one came from the father. It's homozygous because they're the same. Remember, homo means same. It's not dominant because they're lowercase. So these are called recessive genes. So homozygous, recessive. Lowercase letters. Now over here, let's say this one came from mother, this one came from father. This is the same as this, okay? But when we write the genotype, which is the types of genes, you always put the capital letter first. Okay, but these are really the same because you're getting, each one has 1 little t and 1 big T. We don't write it that way, we write it like this. So this is called a heterozygote. Hetero means different. Heterozygous. And it's not recessive or dominant because it has 1 of each. So it's just called heterozygous or heterozygote. These are homozygous or homozygotes. Okay, now, when we look at the types of genes, such as dominant or recessive, we call that the genotype. Genes are the things that are passed on from parent to offspring, and they're actually part of DNA. Okay, so that's a type of gene. So if we look at DNA, sections in the DNA called genes. So we could say for this section here could be gene 1. They're parts of the DNA. Right? So genotype is types of genes you have. You have dominant genes or recessive genes, or you have 1 of each. Phenotype. Phenotype is the physical characteristic, so what it looks like. So for example, if I want to know the genotype of this, it's big T, big T. It's homozygous dominant. If I want to know the phenotype, I want to know what does it look like. So in this case, this is a plant, it would be a tall plant, because big T stands for tall, and has 2 tall genes. Over here, the genotype, little t, or homozygous recessive, the phenotype is short. So this plant looks short. Short plant, that's very tall, not tall. This one, this is heterozygous. So the genotype is heterozygous, big T, little t. The phenotype is tall because it has 1 dominant gene. If it has 1 dominant gene, since it's dominant, it takes control. So it hides this gene. That's why they call it dominant. So you still see the dominant phenotype. So heterozygotes will show the dominant phenotype. In other words, these are going to be tall plants. They're not going to be short. So in complete dominance, where one gene is completely dominant over another, the heterozygotes are going to look like homozygous dominant individuals. So these are both tall.